In the Zone, presented by TD.
It's In the Zone, presented by TD. Ben Ennis and Mike Wilner back in Toronto. The Blue Jays are back in Toronto since it's been a long time since they were here, and I'm sure they're happy to be back because that road trip was not fun. It couldn't have been.
You know what? It's even debatable as to whether or not the Blue Jays are back in Toronto. There are 7 different guys on this team than the team that left 10 days ago. It's insane. And Adeiny Echeverria is throwing to David Cooper right in our line of sight right now, so we may have to stop and grab a wild throw if it should happen. But, I mean, 2-8 on the road trip, right? 24 runs in 10 games. It was terrible, but I don't know that you could have expected any better. This is, right now, this is like 1/3 Fisher Cats, 1/3 51s, and 1/3 big leaguers.
It is crazy, and obviously that road trip and only winning 2 games on it and splitting that series in Oakland has pretty much knocked the Blue Jays out of playoff contention. It was debatable how close they were when they went on to the road trip, and I know there's still so much time left in the season, but Mike, you lose half your roster. The Blue Jays at one point were down to 3 position players who were in the lineup, regulars that were in the lineup. Everybody else was injured, and now at least Colby Rasmus is back, but Brett Lawrie's on the DL. It's going to be about watching the young kids play down the stretch.
It is. There's 13 guys on the disabled list right now with Brett Lawrie. They called up David Carpenter this before Friday's game, the opener of the homestand against the Yankees. Called up Dave Carpenter, who's going to be their 51st player, 52nd player.
51st, yeah.
Yeah, you sure? Because I thought it was, if it's 51st, then it's appropriate because you got the 51s going on. But I thought that happened with the last player. Regardless, I mean, half your roster's on the disabled list. I think there are 6 pitchers on the 60-day DL. You just can't. Mathematically, sure, they're in it, and there are 50-something games left in the season, and they're not even 6 games out of a playoff spot. But look, the truth of the matter is, sadly, and people who are watching on this video podcast, just watch my eyes the whole time, because I never will look at Ben or the camera because of these throws coming from third base.
That would make great video podcasting. If you got beaned. Right, no, if you got beaned, would be even better. Broke your glasses right in half, like hit you right in the middle of them.
What if I did like the Evan Longoria? Boom, right there. That would be spectacular. But I mean, when it's sad to say this, but they're too injured to compete effectively right now. And I know people want to say injuries aren't an excuse. You can't use injuries as an excuse. This team's not deep enough. It should be able to overcome this. That is a load of crap. And you would have to have pretty much 3 different levels of major league starters at every position in order for the Blue Jays to be able to overcome this, and nobody has that. There is no team in baseball that could overcome the amount of injuries that the Blue Jays are dealing with right now.
No, it's been pretty ridiculous. But like I said, it's a chance to see some of the younger players that maybe we weren't expecting to see until September. Anthony Gose, Adeiny Echeverria, those guys have struggled offensively to start their major league careers. But a guy who did not struggle in his debut, Chad Jenkins, who you might have maybe expected to struggle because really wasn't all that good in Double-A New Hampshire, had some reasonable outings his last couple of times out, but looked pretty good in his major league debut, Mike.
You know what's funny is that all season long, people have been screaming, let's see Gose, let's see Echeverria. And then they come up here, and it takes like 3 games for people to, they're overwhelmed. They can't, you know what, forget it. They don't belong in the major. Clearly, they're not ready for the major leagues. The whole season it was, oh my God, Chad Jenkins sucks. This is a waste of a first-round pick. This guy's terrible. He comes up, he throws 3 shutout innings in his first appearance, and all of a sudden, hey, let's see more Chad Jenkins. You know, and good for him for pitching so well and threw strikes, first pitch strikes, and struck out the first guy he faced, struck out the last guy over 3 innings. But this is what happens with kids, right? We knew that Gose and Echeverria's bats weren't quite ready. We're seeing that now in the major leagues. Gose has I believe, has a better batting average right now than Mike Trout had last year in the major leagues in 130 whatever at bats. But it means that they're not ready yet. It doesn't mean that they're not going to be big leaguers. And Jenkins doesn't mean he's going to step in the rotation now and be awesome. Just like J-Hap's one crappy start doesn't mean he's not worth doing anything the rest of the year either.
And we'll get to, it's interesting you mentioned Mike Trout because I talked to Blue Jays hitting instructor Dwayne Murphy about Mike Trout and the comparisons and his struggles last year in the major leagues and comparing him to Anthony Gose as well. And we'll get to that in just a second. But I got to ask you about how the rotation do you think is going to break down? Because Brandon Morrow is coming back. couple, maybe one more start in Double-A I think he's got scheduled, and then he should be back with this team and obviously re-entering the rotation.
Next Saturday he's back.
So he re-enters the rotation. Who's the odd man out? Do the Blue Jays get a chance to see Chad Jenkins, what he can do in a starting role as well?
I think only if they want to be careful with Henderson Alvarez's innings and shut him down. I think Morrow probably takes Aaron Laffey's spot. Probably, because Laffey's had a couple of bad starts in a row now, and you know, you kind of see him trending the wrong way, unfortunately. But then he's a Farrell guy. John Farrell drafted him, and they brought him in for that reason. And Farrell likes him, and he did a very good job in very trying circumstances in the earlier part of his joining the rotation. But it's him or Carlos Villanueva, right? So I think they might think that they have something in Villanueva. And there's no reason not to think that, the way he's performed as a starting pitcher. So I think Morrow takes Laffey's spot, but I don't think Villanueva will start every fifth day the rest of the season. So maybe that's your chance to sneak Jeff Jenkins. He would be great, though. Chad Jenkins.
Ferguson Jenkins?
Oh, you know what? I knew I was going to say Jeff Jenkins at least once. It's going to happen more often. But I think that might be their chance.
Former Brewer.
Yeah. I think you have to leave half in the rotation the rest of the year, too. So, you know, Drabek's not coming back now. Drew Hutchison's not coming back. We know that. So there's probably going to be a spot, because you worry a little bit about the elbow of Villanueva. But then again, if he's going to be a starter for you next year, don't you want to see him pitch a whole bunch of innings? So I don't know. I think they'll figure out a way to fit Jenkins in somehow, give him a start or two, much like they did with McGowan last year, and. You know, you want to see what you have, even if he has to go back to Double-A for all of next year.
Mentioned that I spoke to Blue Jays hitting coach Dwayne Murphy. Here's that conversation. Here with Blue Jays hitting coach Dwayne Murphy. And Dwayne, so many young kids on this team right now, and it's tough because a lot of them don't have veterans to look to because they're all injured right now. I mean, how tough must that be as a young player when you're surrounded by young players as well?
Well, it's tough for them. You know, the thing is they're excited to be here. You know, they want to perform, they want to do well. And, you know, all of a sudden they're up against major league pitching. They're seeing pitches they've never seen before, because you don't see them in the minor leagues, because those guys are here in the big leagues. So it's tough on them, but, you know, they're making their adjustments. They're getting a little better.
What's the toughest part for a young hitter who's maybe never had failure in his professional career? You know, minor leagues, guys have hit maybe throughout their entire minor league career. They come to the major leagues and they taste their first little bit of failure. Is that the toughest part about adjusting to the major leagues, or is it something else?
No, I think that's it. I mean, all of a sudden they say to themselves, they start wanting to change things and do things different. And you just try to tell them, no, this is the major league. Just stay in your game. Stay on your strength. You know, do what you do good, and try to keep them in that philosophy, keep them in that frame of mind.
When we look at a lot of pitchers in the minor leagues, some pitchers, they have their strikeout totals and their control totals don't exactly translate over to the major leagues. Is it the same way with hitters in a way where you can maybe work counts and be a pretty good patient hitter in the minor leagues, but you have to make a separate adjustment to carry those skill sets over to the major leagues?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. A lot of times in the minor leagues, everybody throws away. You know, you get to the big leagues, the first thing they're going to find out if you can hit the ball inside. And if you can't get to the ball inside, they're going to live there until you learn how to hit it. So there's different adjustments they make. On the major league side, they're going to find out where your weaknesses and where your strengths are, and I think that's the big difference.
What about guys that are just trying to survive, trying to get base hits? We see Anthony Gose. I mean, it seems like almost once in at bat he'll try and lay down that bunt. Now, obviously, that's part of that is to take advantage of his skill set, tremendous speed. But at some point, is it going to be a situation where you're going to work on him pulling the ball a little bit more? Maybe just overall, what have you seen out of Anthony in his short time in the major leagues?
Well, you know, these guys got up here for about a week. You don't really want to touch them. So actually now we've been working on our bat path, getting the bat through the zone the right way, because, you know, a lot of it's trying too hard and, you know, trying to do too much so they come out of their swings. Last few games he's been swinging the bat a lot better, so and then he's got a better frame of mind, so he takes that into the game, and I think it'll work for him.
Yeah, and you see the extra base hit in Oakland going the other way off the wall, and Adaney picking up his first major league hit as well. How much do you think is that a mental mindset where you get maybe your first extra base hit, you get your first major league hit in the case of a Daney, where you just kind of release that tension of getting that out of the way?
I tell you need that first major league hit. And the sooner you get it, the better. And, they got their first hits. They got them out of the way. And a lot of the pressures, a lot of the feelings they want are going to be gone. These guys are learning a lot, and they're being put in a tough situation, especially when you got 4 or 5 in the lineup at one time, and it's tough.
Obviously, your reputation in the major leagues is great, and you've done some great things with some major league hitters. I mean, Jose Bautista, to mention one, but you mentioned keeping your hands off some of the young kids because it is so late in the season, and maybe getting a look at them first. Is that your strategy with some of the younger guys, is maybe not put too much in their head to start off with?
I do that with everybody. When there's even guys that come over from other organizations that have been in the big leagues. It's hands off till you really see what they're doing. It's easy to walk up and look at each at bat and say, oh yeah, he didn't do this and this at bat, but maybe he was just a little bit off time and maybe a little out front. So you can always find something wrong in a swing, and so it's being able to find the big picture where you want that one thing that'll help them instead of trying to give them your hands are doing this is every at bat. Then you just wear them out.
A lot of people are looking at Mike Trout, and he just may be a freak. But you go back to, he was in the major leagues, had some significant at-bats last year, and didn't perform nearly to the level he is at this year. Do you think that is a common theme with young players, is maybe their first taste of major league level pitching, it doesn't go as planned, but then they have an off season, they look at some tape from the previous year, and they come back even stronger?
Oh, definitely. That's how this game works. I mean, they may come in September and have a great September and think they can come in the next year and just dominate the league, and they get a rude awakening, because I tell you, pitchers figure you out, teams figure you out. But Trout is an athlete. He's got a great swing, and even last year you could see his swing. It was a matter of time when he put it together.
There you go, Dwayne Murphy, a great hitting instructor. And I mean, how can you argue with what he's done with Jose Bautista? It's not all him, the result, Jose Bautista, but I'm sure he was a big part of it.
I'm sure he helped. I mean, I don't want to demean the work of any coach or anything, but for me, it's the player, and the players do it. And sometimes hearing a different message kind of gets something to click. But I mean, Dwayne Murphy was also the hitting coach when Adam Lind and Aaron Hill went right into the toilet for 2 years. So give him credit for Jose Bautista. You have to give him blame for the other guys. Give him credit for Encarnacion. But, I mean, let's give the credit to the players. The coach is there to facilitate work, to keep an eye on things, to keep the message going on. And Dwayne Murphy was a guy who in his major league career had a fantastic eye at the plate, didn't really hit well for average, had a tiny bit of pop, walked a ton, so I kind of like that. And I like the message he sends, and he's a good hitting coach, as good as any, but let's give Jose Bautista the credit for being Jose Bautista.
I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever. He had 50 home runs. Okay, whatever. He's Mike Wilner. Follow him on Twitter, at Wilnerness590. You can follow me on Twitter as well, at BennisSnet. Yes, you follow me. And also check out our audio podcast at sportsnet590.ca. This has been In the Zone, presented by TD. We'll see you next week.